Extra, when the rain moves out, the warmth comes back in. We're on your side with your forecast for a wonderful Wednesday and when we'll see rain again this week. And we talk about the threat of heavy rain and some storms, not only for our area, but across the entire southeast region. Plus, we're getting closer and closer to that total solar eclipse coming up, how those in the area of totality are preparing for the event.
WBRC Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
Well, welcome into Weather Extra. Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt. A lot of rain out there on radar, and right now we're going to go through, show you areas where some of that heavier rain is falling at the moment. Let's take you live right now to Tuscaloosa, where we have our Sky Vision camera over at Lake Tuscaloosa at Pier 43. We've had some rain. It was really coming down a few moments ago. You can see some foggy conditions there along the local waterways, and it's just going to be a dreary night out there. Mostly cloudy, rainy, foggy at times, so just be careful. You can see it's raining at Summerton, 63 degrees, and just a few locations here on our First Alert Sky Vision, and some wet roads around Jasper. Some of that rain's moved to the north. I see some folks there. They walk crossing the road without an umbrella, so looking good at the moment, but be ready. We're going to have some rain coming back, and you can see where a lot of this wet weather is happening at the moment. Haleyville, Double Springs, the northwest areas is where we have some of the heaviest rain in our area at the moment, but all this is wrapping in to a system that's over Mississippi, and until that tracks across the area, we're going to see more of this wet weather wrapping in from the south, and that's going to continue, and it's also going to spread into East Alabama. I know we're catching some breaks further east you go. Here's a look at Coleman, though, seeing just a couple of showers there tracking to the north. Folks traveling on Interstate 65 certainly running into a couple of pockets of rain. Birmingham looks like another band of light rainfall around Bluff Park, stretching back over towards the Ross Bridge area. That's lifting in towards the north if you're around Fairfield, Midfield, north towards places like Graysville and Adamsville. You can see the light showers, nothing too significant at the moment. Some of that light rain back in towards Trussville as well, lifting to the north. But notice there's more to come. See how all this rain down into Bibb County around Centerville and West Blockton, all this will continue to wrap in from the south. And still, you may hear a rumble of thunder out there for tonight. You can see how more of this is just kind of popping up. And that's the thing, is we're in a setup tonight. Even though you look at the radar and you say, well, there's no rain out there close to where I'm at, that wet weather is going to kind of fill in later on tonight as this continues to the east. But if you're around Reform and Gordo, the Brownville area here in Tuscaloosa County, a first alert for some more rain you can see lifting in from the south direction. East Alabama, our friends from Centerville, Anniston, back in towards Talladega, Ashland, Sylacauga. At the moment, we're still in that window there, rain-free conditions, but all this wet weather that we see back to the west, that is all going to be making its way in our direction. So that's what's happening on radar at the moment. As we track the rainy weather moving in across the state, we'll certainly have more on what you can expect for tomorrow, and we're going to be talking a lot more about another system that's going to bring some heavier rain, one of the next big things coming up on Friday, and we'll talk about just how much rain we could see there. And we're not the only ones, of course, dealing with the heavy rain this week. Those of you that may be traveling this weekend, well, you're going to have to dodge some of that wet weather I'm talking about for Friday, and possibly some severe weather. There's actually a multi-day severe weather threat that's going to impact cities from New Orleans to Miami. We've been talking about this heavy rain and storm event here on First Alert Weather Extra, but one thing we have noticed, and this map shows an area there with some heavier rainfall. A lot of this heavy rain is going to set up south of our area. We're seeing the main severe weather risk down closer to the coast, but there will be millions of people out there from East Texas to just west of Mobile. That's been a very active zone so far this season with this El Nino pattern. It's going to see more heavy rain, and of course closer to the coast we're going to have to stay weather alert for a risk of large hail, isolated tornadoes, but at this point it looks like that severe weather risk at this point looks to stay south of our area. But we're talking about quite a bit of rainfall as we close out the week. And yesterday we introduced you to two types of fog, and today we bring you the final two types. We could actually see some fog overnight tonight. Meteorologists Matt Daniel and Mickey Ferguson join us now to explain the differences.
We continue our discussion today on fog, F-O-G. You put those letters together and they spell fog. And so what is fog, you might ask? Well, you might not, but if you do ask, Here's the answer.
Well, we got Fred Hunter to help us out.
Uh-huh.
He's feeling those water droplets exposed to his hand and his forehead.
He's usually wearing a hat.
Yeah, he is wearing a hat usually. But no, in general, fog is just water droplets suspended in the air at the Earth's surface, condenses, and it's just, think of it as a cloud at the surface,
That's
right?
right. So dense fog is a visibility of 1/4 of a mile or less, and sometimes we have 0-mile visibility in our area.
Yeah, and you know, we saw a lot of that over the weekend. Fred was tracking all that patchy dense fog. We had dense fog advisories.
That's right.
And so that can happen. That can cause some accidents out there, and there's so many different types of fog. We actually talked about a few of them yesterday. You know, there's also freezing fog. I didn't even mention that.
Well.
But today we're going to talk about advection fog and rain-induced fog, and Mickey looks really excited about this.
Yes, I do. And fortunately, this time of the year, we don't usually have to deal with much freezing fog.
Thank
but it's still a potential, but it's not common.
So, you know, precipitation fog or rain-induced fog, here's the overall setup. So just to pretend, I mean, we don't really have to pretend. It's been kind of raining a good bit today.
Yeah.
But pretend it's raining, and up in the air, it's just a little bit warmer than at the surface. So you got those water droplets falling through that warm air, and so those water droplets themselves start to warm up a bit.
Yeah, and then they hit that cooler air. And drops evaporate in the cooler layer near the surface, Matt.
That is right. And then, of course, you get a little bit of moisture. That evaporation saturates that air. Those dew points meet those actual air temperatures. And then, bam, you get fog.
I've never heard that noise. But yes, fog is what we get. Bam!
Hey, just trying to add some
I like it.
excitement to fog, right?
Some sound effects.
We also have advection fog. Advection's a big word. Just think of it as a transfer of heat. So what we're dealing with at this particular setup, you got the surface, you got cool air at the surface, but you got some wind blowing aloft. So sometimes you can get some, you know, a system nearby producing a strong breeze over that cooler ground. And you also have moisture. So as that warm, muggy air mass moves over that cooler surface, you get that humid air mass, and with that warm air in place, gets cooled by the ground below, and that air cools, becomes saturated with moisture, and of course, when the temperature and that dew point meet, that's when you get a little bit of
fog.
I was hoping you would say bam.
Bam, fog.
There you go. So there's two different types of advection fog. So, you know, because we're getting into a wetter season, there's more humidity. It's pretty common we'll see some patchy fog. Who knows? We could even see a little bit of fog tomorrow morning if some of those winds are relatively light. So
Hopefully those are good explanations for you and you're not still a little bit foggy.
bam!
Bam!
Fog. It's science.
All right, and we were talking about some of those fires happening across Texas. Across the nation in Minnesota, more than 1,000 acres of land are burned after a major wildfire over the weekend. It was called the Waseca wildfire and burned about 70 miles south of the Twin Cities. Numerous households were evacuated, but fortunately there were no structure damages. Some residents say there's nothing but just the smoke and the ash in their yards. 3 people, including 2 firefighters, were injured. We've been talking about the Great American Eclipse here on Weather Extra, and we're just a month away from the event. We've got a lot of reports on the way to help get you ready on what we can expect. But Jen Sullivan joins us now as she talks about the best places to go and the best way to experience it in totality in today's Consumer Watch.
Do you still have those special solar eclipse viewing glasses? You may have another opportunity to use them. On April 8th, a total solar eclipse will be visible to millions of people in North America, 32 million in the U.S. alone.
I saw the last solar eclipse, and there is really something magical.
Expedia travel expert Melanie Fish says this eclipse will be visible in more areas than the Great American Eclipse in 2017.
This time, the solar eclipse covers a much more populated path of totality. So that means a lot more people are going to have a chance to see it.
A solar eclipse is when the moon passes between the sun and the earth, casting a shadow on the earth that fully or partially blocks the sun's light, creating darkness like this during the day. Mexico's Pacific coast will experience the total eclipse first. Then the path enters the U.S. and goes up to Newfoundland, Canada. People in 15 states will be able to view the phenomenon, and lodging is already in high demand.
Availability is getting tight for hotels to stay in and vacation rentals in the path of totality.
This year's rare sight falls around spring break, which is already a popular time to travel. So book accommodations, flights, and car rentals now. For those who have the week off, Fish suggests planning an entire trip around the solar eclipse. So pick a place where there are other things to see and do. Most importantly, plan ahead.
Don't just wing it and hit the road and say, I'm going to drive to wherever the eclipse is.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
The next total solar eclipse won't be seen across North America until 2044, and even then we're talking about places like Montana, the far northwest, and we're going to see about 80 to 90% coverage here across Alabama. So it's going to be quite the event. Hopefully the weather will cooperate, and certainly you'll want to check to make sure you still have those eclipse glasses. And be sure to stay tuned right here on Weather Extra as the First Alert Weather Team prepares for this event, and we'll get you ready for what to experience. But coming up here in 30 seconds, we're going to talk about what we're experiencing right now, which is some rain out there. Meteorologist Tania Michelle is coming right back with a radar check. Stay with us.
Mic check, mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. Hey there, everyone. First Alert meteorologist Tania Michelle here. We've got an update on that radar. We're definitely tracking showers across central Alabama right now. Some areas getting heavier rainfall than others, like northwest central Alabama, Marion County, Winston County near the city of Hackleburg, down to Hamilton, on and along Interstate 22. And then we've got some rain pushing through the metro area, through Jefferson County, some showers in Adamsville and up towards the city of Warrior. Within the next hour or so, we're going to see all of this continue to move in this counterclockwise rotation as this low pressure moves through our area. So expect more rainfall continuing throughout the night tonight, but tapering off by about Wednesday afternoon with maybe just a few lingering showers at best. But I actually want to talk about this because we've been sharing footage from the Barron Weather Conference this week, but I bring you along with myself and Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt during our time in Huntsville and the things we've learned. I am here for the Barron Conference. A girl got to get up to be at the first session at 9 a.m. So good night. See y'all tomorrow. Okay, so I went ahead and put my contacts in. I am heading out. So the conference was being held in the building right across the street from my hotel, but I had a hard time finding where the conference was at in that building. Pretty sure I'm over here. We're just gonna walk. I'm gonna go through this building right here.
There's your bag.
Thank you so much.
Here's your side bag.
Thank you. Okay, so we're eating lunch at the Rhythm. It's literally right next to where the conference is being held, and it looks so good.
A ton of kids who come in from elementary through high school. We've got college
From
interns.
networking to valuable conversations with other professionals, day one was great. Now it's time for
Barron Conference Day 2.
He's on three. 1, 2, 3.
So we do a lot of news. We have 9 people on our weather team.
Wes also spoke on a panel to talk more about Weather Extra and the WBRC Fox 6 News weather team. The Barron Conference was so great, and I hope that we can all implement more that we learned from that conference.
Well, still ahead, the rain is moving out, maybe more like tomorrow, but will be returning for us by Friday and into the weekend. That forecast and what you can expect beyond the 7-day is coming next right here on First Alert Weather Extra.
Welcome back into Weather Extra. Well, we did catch those little in-between periods out there today. If you tried to get out to vote, you probably encountered maybe a couple isolated showers. We're still seeing more of those showers tonight. We're actually seeing the coverage starting to increase. And when you look at the radar, it doesn't look like a lot here across areas to the east and central areas. But the thing is, it's going to be kind of drizzly, misty, just very unsettled through the overnight hours. Some of the heavier rain that we've been tracking is around Haleyville and Hamilton. Areas back to the northwest. It's mostly just light rain that you can see across Shelby County, Chilton County, parts of Bibb County, and into the Birmingham area. But this is where some of that heavier rain might be getting a rumble of thunder around Hackleburg to Russellville, Red Bay areas there to the far north. Hamilton, rain starting to really pick up here. It's coming down from near Sulligent, stretching back up to the north around Pikeville and Hamilton. That's moving to the north direction, and there's plenty more of this wrapping in from the south. But notice how the wet weather, it just starts to develop out of nowhere. You see that right there? This is all wrapping into a low pressure system, and until that gets out of here, we're going to see more of these areas of rain developing and filling in throughout the night, and all of this is going to slide on into East Alabama closer to midnight, and after midnight we'll still have some rain around. You can see the data here showing that system and all this rain kind of wrapping in from the south. You see that as it rotates in across Alabama, that low pressure system. There's a look at 11 o'clock tonight, and still could have a couple downpours, some rumbles of thunder as this continues to track on to the east. You can see there rainy weather 6 a.m. still showing some rain around Birmingham, so there's going to be some wet roads possible in the morning, especially along that 280 corridor back in through Childersburg, Sylacauga, down into Tallapoosa County. Some leftover rain around Anniston and Gadsden early tomorrow morning, so I'd factor in some extra drive time if you're heading out and about early, 5-6 a.m. Notice by 8 o'clock though, this so quickly by that point starts to taper off, and we may get a little bit of sun tomorrow breaking through those clouds. And how about those temperatures? 3 o'clock back into the 70s. I think we'll top out close to 75. Could see a stray shower during the afternoon tomorrow, but most areas after the rain moves out in the morning will be dry, and we'll actually enjoy a couple decent days here coming up. Thursday looks mainly dry, and then Friday we see another increase in rain and thunderstorms. But you can see the new data shows the greatest risk for storms and at least severe weather. Looks like another complex here across South Alabama, and that could kind of cut off what happens further north. As we were mentioning yesterday, this is where the greatest severe weather risk will be, down into the far southern part of the state, and that's also where some of the heavier rainfall is going to be located. We may end up with some totals over 4 inches to the far south and east, but you can see that wet weather is going to continue into Saturday morning. Looks like the first part of the day on Saturday will be rainy, but we'll have some improvements there as we get into Saturday afternoon. But as far as the potential rainfall, you can see the forecasted rain amount showing right there, areas to the far southeast, perhaps around Alexander City and Rockford. We could see some totals there approaching 4 inches. But first alert 7-day forecast Saturday, if you're making those plans, first part of the day we have wet weather, and then for Sunday we have high temperatures in the low 60s and a mostly sunny sky. And it looks like in the next week some colder weather there into early on Monday. And today I had the pleasure of visiting South Shades Crest School. Thankfully had a little break in the rain, but I wanted to introduce you to all the students there. We had the kindergartners and the first and second graders. Well, I promise they were making lots of noise. I know you can't hear it, but they were having a great time there today. And we actually sang some weather songs, Tania, and we actually read a couple of books. It's Read Across America Week. So we read some books there, talked a little weather safety, and tomorrow looking forward to heading over to Helena Elementary School. So
okay, you're busy this week, Wes.
Yeah, making the rounds this week. And tomorrow, thankfully, the weather will improve. But just want to say, as always, teachers, if you go to our website, WBRC.com, we have a link on there for weather in the classroom. You can sign up right there, and a member of the First Alert Weather team will reach out. And I know tomorrow we've got some nice weather coming back, but right now we want to kind of turn towards that weather calendar and what's on the way for next week. And still looks like maybe some more rain, Tania, late next week.
Yeah, it's like it's following that pattern again. It's coming in through the end of the work week next week. Notice here the squares highlighted in red indicate a greater chance to see rain and even possible thunderstorms. So next Thursday, that's March the 14th, but not just the 14th. I mean, the 15th and maybe even the start of next weekend on the 16th. I did want to go back to the rest of this week because we still have first alert for rain and thunderstorms on Friday. So make sure that if you have any plans on Friday that you're checking in diligently for that forecast and getting those forecast updates, because we could see a lot of rain, but then we maybe could not, depending on how strong storms are to our south. I also want to remind you guys that we have rain sticking around for us for the first half of your Saturday, but Sunday we're springing those clocks forward, so don't forget to do that. So about this rain, how much rainfall are we looking like across the United States? Well, areas to the west, like over in Washington, down to California, and even Phoenix, Arizona, may be seeing below average rainfall between March 13th through the 19th. That's our 8 to 14 day temperature, or excuse me, rainfall outlook. But for us here across central Alabama, the rain isn't going anywhere anytime soon. We're looking at above average rainfall. As far as those temperatures, it looks like majority of the U.S. will be seeing either just around average in terms of their temperatures or above average temperatures. For us across central Alabama, it looks like we'll be just on par. So maybe we can see an early spring, some days a little bit warmer, some days a little bit cooler, but for the most part, we should be right around seasonable, which means where we should or where we would be on average of that portion of the day or of the year. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with your final check on weather right here on First Alert Weather Extra. Stay with us. Ooh, I thought
Well, here's one from the weather app today. Tania, Lamont Williams sharing this from Livingston, Alabama. That's down in Sumter County. He said, is this a funnel cloud that I'm looking at? And I just want to say I think it's what we call the look-alike cloud. It is a scud cloud or debris cloud, and it's so rainy and so humid and kind of tropical feeling out there. That's why we've got those low clouds around the area, but no severe weather expected, just some rain, some rumbles of thunder out there tonight.
Yeah, and it looks like we can see this rain continuing through at least Wednesday afternoon and maybe a few widely scattered showers by Wednesday evening as well.
Yeah, very isolated tomorrow. Again, most of the rain's going to move out early tomorrow, but if you have plans during the afternoon, there will be some nice breaks out there, highs in the mid-70s, but we're going to be talking about that heavier rain coming back on Friday. But tonight, of course, a lot of coverage coming up. It's election day. We're going to have that news for you later on tonight. Plus, Tania will be here at 9, and I'll see you at 10 with radar updates on WBRC Fox 6 News.
Have a great night. See you guys again first at 9. My IV dies.